Welcome back to Julie's Village. I'm glad you're here. As a reminder, if you're interested in receiving more information or being added to my wait list for receiving consulting or coaching services and supporting your family in your individual circumstances, you can reach out to me at juliesvillage@gmail.com. Julie's does not have an apostrophe. In previous episodes, I talked about how you can gather information to look at what is the purpose behind a child's behavior. Then we talked about how you can start thinking through plans for addressing that behavior. Today, I'm going to dig in a little deeper to one specific part of that plan, and that is the section called the setting events. So if you're a special education teacher, you're going to be including that in their behavior intervention plan. If you are a family or somebody in the community just trying to support someone with behavior or emotional needs, this is something that is just really good to consider. And this is called the setting events. So, setting events, when you think of setting in a story, you think about this, or a play or a movie or whatever it is, you think about just what is happening around the story. You think about location, you think about time of year or time of day or day of the week, whatever it is, you think about what is already happening for the characters. They have experienced a whole life building up to that point. So, what are some things that are already established that kind of get shown in the beginning or the introduction of the story to help you know a little bit more of the context behind the story? Well, that is very similar when we're thinking about behavior. By the time you see your child or a child gets to school, a student gets to school, things have already happened for them internally and externally. This is taking time to be aware of some of those things and how they impact a child, and what are some things that you can do to help neutralize some of those setting events that might um, result in an increase of undesired behavior or a decrease in desired behavior. An example of some of these setting events might be setting events that might contribute to this increase of undesired or a decrease in desired behavior are things like if they are hungry, if they're not feeling well, if they're tired. Those are some of those big obvious ones. Um, Cold and heat can impact. It could be that they had an argument with somebody that you don't know about. It could be that something really stressful is coming up for them and they are thinking about it a lot. So, we're going to talk just a little bit about ways to maybe identify some of these things and then what you can do about it. One of the easiest ways to identify it is like just observing. Um, you might already have picked up on some things with your child. Uh, One story from my own childhood is that we didn't realize it, but I had blood sugar issues, and when I got hungry, I was mean. And after a while, my family picked up on it and they joked. The big joke in the family was, "Get Julie orange juice." And they joked about just sticking an arm through my bedroom door with orange juice first thing in the morning because everybody knew that that was like my worst time of day when I would be the most unkind. You might know some things like that about your child already. Like, man, when they get tired, they are just unbearable, or they turn into a complete zombie and I just can't get anything out of them. If you've already realized some of those things, something you can do is then maybe providing an opportunity to correct it if you can in the moment. For instance, if hunger is a big deal, are there snacks on hand? Does your child know how to access them? Does your child know how to recognize that hunger in themselves? Um, if they are just really struggle when they're tired, is napping an option? If so, how can you help them to recognize that tiredness and to know how and where to nap? If it's not an option, are there things that can be done the night before to help make sure that they maximize the amount of sleep that they get? Things that can be done to help prepare so that they can sleep in as long as possible in the morning, or things that can maybe be bumped up to earlier in the night to help them get to bed earlier. Another way to look at it, if there isn't really a way to solve the problem, is or give them a solution in the moment, is to just reconsider what your expectations are during those times. So there might be a long-term expectation of, hey, you need to practice your piano for so many minutes each week. It's easiest if it's divided this many minutes each day. But on those days when you're just too tired and you turn into a zombie, your piano practice isn't as effective. So I'm going to say on those days, we're not learning new songs. We're just going to go replay songs that you already know. And we'll do a shorter practice today and we'll do a longer practice tomorrow. So those end expectations are the same, but those short-term expectations might be smaller. In the classroom, it might look like if they come in and they're just really tired or they are really hungry and there's not an option for a nap, there's no snacks available, then again, you might just re-look at the way that you're presenting assignments and expectations. I would often tell my team with certain students, if they came in and I knew those certain setting events were there, I would say, okay, today all we're looking for is compliance. We are not looking for work completion, or we're only looking for work completion. We are not looking for work accuracy. And I would expect a certain level, perhaps, of behavior that day, but it was okay if we didn't get certain assignments done. We might come back to them later, or I might change the way that they were presented so that they felt like it was less effort. One thing I would often do for students that had this setting event of they're tired and then they had this assignment that was less desirable, that was a frequent trigger of often, for example, writing was one that a lot of students did not like to do. I would say, okay, on any assignment that we're not assessing writing specifically, they can verbally give you the answer and you can write it down for them. Make sure that you communicate with them that this is not an everyday thing. This is a one-time thing today. You are willing to help them this way so that it doesn't become an expected practice for every day. Some other setting events that you might consider, again, are the argument with a friend or a family member, or being really, really anxious about something coming up. One of the easiest ways to determine this is to just talk with the student or your child and find out what is on their mind. Some students or your children, they might not be willing to just openly share things with you, and that is okay. Some things you can do are finding out, is there a person that they are willing to share with? You might have some setup time each day where they can cartoon and you give them specific things that they are cartooning about. And cartooning is where they just draw like little comic type things. Um, and for some students, I would put like little word bubbles in there for them and say, I want you to draw you how you're feeling right now. And then in this thought bubble, will you put down a couple of words that help me to know how you're feeling right now or why you're feeling the way you are? Or you could say, can you do a quick cartoon of how you came to school today and how you were feeling as you came to school today? Again, not a lot of students like to write, so that gives pretty minimal writing, but will help them still to express what they're feeling. If it's more of a home version, then you might have them do the same thing, but maybe on their way home from school or after being at a friend's house, or if there's split parenting, then maybe how it was at mom's house or at dad's house. and have them help give more information there. If anxiety is a factor and they're willing to talk about that, then you might take some time to just do some mindfulness strategies with them and help them to recognize again in their own body how they're feeling, where that frustration or that concern or that worry is, and help them to recognize what that looks like for them, what that feels like for them, and then help them to think through some strategies about, well, what do I do when I feel this way? If there is frustration or anger with a friend or a family member, they might need just some time to, even if they can't tell you the details of what happened, but they can let you know that something happened, or the other party lets you know that something happened, and you know that like there's no working with them until they have processed through this. It's okay to give them time and space to allow them to just process through that. You might have some, I would choose high, a, I guess, a more preferred activity, but not a most preferred activity. For instance, if when you know that they are coming in with a frustration and you use technology as kind of that downtime, for a lot of students then or children, it makes it really hard to separate from that most preferred thing and be able to move on with the day. But if there's a more preferred thing, like maybe they really enjoy reading or doing Legos or coloring, those are things that you could set a timer for and allow them just to have so much time. And then maybe there's so much time after that that you come back and try to talk about it and address and problem solve after that before you present any other expectations for the day. And that is really the key, is recognizing that these events have happened for them, that there is an amount that is blocking them from being able to access the rest of their day. It might make it so that they are more easily triggered. It takes less of a trigger for them to become really upset and for other behaviors to manifest. And so if you can build in some things throughout their day or into their environment that helps them to either process through or to find solutions for themselves or accept solutions that you present, that will help them to be much more successful in their day and to be able to continue on into their day. If you have any other ideas or strategies that have helped with setting events, or things that you have seen work really well, I'd love for you to share that in the comments. If you have further questions about setting events, or maybe some specific setting events that you've seen that you're not sure how to handle and you would like some strategy ideas, please, I invite you to add those to the comments as well. If you have ideas or recommendations or questions that you would like to see answered in future episodes, or specific people that you would like to see interviewed in future episodes, I invite you to leave that in the comments as well. If this is helpful for you, I invite you to like, share, subscribe, and just help get this content out there for other people who might also need it. And I will see you next time.